Yo, what's up YouTube? Redbird here. As promised, we're here with the small scale staff wand build. This is good for arenas, your PvP events that, like, you know, where they put you on like red, green, purple, like small group PvE, such as like open world dungeons at night. Yeah, it's you can even run this utility like in large scale if you wanted to, as like an off heal in a group. I think this is like a perfect build for, like, maybe you have a staff or like wand, bow, and then like you run it, like go ahead and like run a wand staff as like another like support build, like, or off support, or, you know, a hybrid support. This build is perfect for that as well. It's got a lot of utility, a really surprising amount of burst that you can apply to pressure on targets. It's late, I'm rambling, let's get in here, boys. Also, you listen, I had a lot of comments on the YouTube saying, you know, get your head out of the way, you know, it's blocking a bunch of stuff, and here I am pleasing the people. We give the people what they want here. The head's gone. You might see it at the beginning of the videos, at the end of the videos. If you want the head back, leave a comment, you know what I'm saying? I digress. Let's get into these skills. So first, let's look at the offensive part of the build. It is centered around Focus Fire Bombs, Inferno Wave, and Judgment Lightning. As you would expect, you're charging up Focus Fire Bomb to max if possible, unleashing it, then following up with hopefully double procced Inferno Wave, placing a lot of burn stacks on a target that magnifies your hopefully double Judgment Lightning. It's a really easy offensive strategy here. You know, again, we're primarily support, so we don't focus all of our time on damage, but it is great, I think, to be able to apply pressure and help pick and finish off kills as a healer in small scale, because, you know, applying pressure, especially if you're in a coordinated group, applying pressure can make a huge difference to the outcome of a battle. Hopefully you get that first pick and you know, seal the deal on the rest of the fight. Ice Spear Bombardment can also be used offensively, though it also is a pretty good root or utility spell. It slows them as well. So it's just like an all-around all-star of the build. I love Ice Spear Bombardment. You can use it offensively, defensively. It's all around a good skill. I typically will use it offensively unless, like, the other team has like a pretty aggressive tank, and you can, or melee DPS, and you can use this to root and kite away. Like kind of Ice Spear Bombardment into your Frost Smoke Screen. That's a lot of slow. It's almost 100% chance movement speed reduction. It's like 85 to be exact. So really good combination to get away from melee DPS. Icebound Tomb. Typically in large scale, this is what's unique about this build. You would use the skill specialization that would allow you to decrease their melee evasion. But with this build, we don't. We like to freeze the target. It isolates. I use it a lot of times to isolate a tank or to isolate a healer in PvP, and it really works wonders. I find it more and more useful, especially like in arenas, where you can just freeze that tank, and all three of you gang up on the DPS or the healer, and get that pick. And then the tank, especially without a healer, is a lot more vulnerable and easier to kill and get that 3-piece. So I love Icebound Entombment. We just run it naked. Good old-fashioned Icebound Entombment. Frost Smoke Screen, we talked a little bit about this. It's a great utility spell, mobility spell that allows you to you can use it aggressively, offensively, or defensively. You know, track down a target or get away from a melee target. It works really well in synergy with Ice Spear Bombardment, like I said. And yeah, I really like, the more and more I use this spell, the more and more I like it. It's awesome to have extra mobility, especially in Throne and Liberty. And when you couple that with the utility of it having a weaken, and also like it reducing their movement speed, it's just an all-around good spell to have in PvP. So let's look at the support side of the build here. We have obviously Swift Healing, goated single target spell, gotta have it. It can help your tank stay alive, or oftentimes it just helps you stay alive when you're being targeted. It's a great spell. You wouldn't run wand if you're not using this spell, I would say. Fountain of Life, AoE, you just throw it down on the ground. Your melee can play in it. You sometimes, like, your ranged DPS and you can play in it. To recover mana, to recover health. It's just a great ability. It's one of the best abilities on wand. We definitely run it in this build as well. And then Clay Salvation, just a big AoE heal, just in case your group, like, collectively needs topped off. This is probably, honestly, the spell that I would probably switch out first if I was going to switch out something, just because I oftentimes find that the value of this spell is wasted a little bit, especially in, like, arenas where there's only 3 people. You're not really oftentimes like, 3 of you are not needing to be topped off at one point in time. Typically, especially if in good organized arena, like, they're picking targets, and these 2 spells are a little bit more effective in helping keep a target up. And I would probably honestly switch this out for Blessed Barrier, just to, again, help magnify the amount of healing I can dish out on one target, because oftentimes in small scale, if the group is good, they're going to focus that one target, and it's nice to be able to keep them up. So if I had a skill to switch here, or if you're, like, toying with skills, this would be my first in, last out type of thing. Clay Salvation and Blessed Barrier. Victorious Energy, this is a requirement in the build. We run an evasion build, and this basically helps us hit the desired amount of melee evasion to combat, like, the massive amount of greatswords that you're going to see in PvP. Until they fix the way that stunning and like hard CC works, where they can just CC you to death, basically. I mean, you need really, really high amounts of evasion to live as a healer, or especially as a wand staff player. So this is a must. This is a self-cast ability that lasts for 12 seconds. You got to be really good about putting this buff up when you're getting ready to engage in PvP. Make sure that you focus on casting high focus, pun intended. It's not called high focus anymore, so the pun doesn't work, but you get the gist. It's called Victorious Energy when you take this skill spec. But we're gonna go through those. I'm a good boy, okay? I've been learning. We're going through everything. I know you guys always ask if I missed something. You guys pointed out we're not missing something today. Mark my words, okay? Yeah, so the next ability is Inner Peace. We do use the skill specialization to stop CC during... Wait, what the heck? That got taken off. Give me a second here. That ain't right. Oh yeah, okay, I see. Here it is. Okay, there we go. That's right now. All is well. Okay, so we use this to prevent CC. It just helps you, like, I don't know, you typically don't want to cast this in situations where you're going to get CC'd out of it, but it is nice to have the assurance that you're not going to get knocked out of it or CC'd to death because you're trying to get your mana back. It is... You use it, like, when you get a wipe, basically, I would say, only. So, like, if if your team gets a 3-piece, or you kind of get down to, like, a 3v1, and your 2 other teammates can go and pick the 3rd person off an arena, you want to use Inner Peace, get ready for the next team fight. Same for, like, small scale. It does require a certain amount of precision to use effectively and make sure that you're not putting yourself in bad situations. So Inner Peace, though, very, very, very good. It helps sustain your mana. Just, I think, an important part and a reason why you run staff with wand as a support character. Invincible Wall. This is probably the second least effective spell, especially in arenas, just because, again, you're not getting, like, the benefit of casting it, or the value of casting it on 6 targets. But it is, I think, generally something that I open up most fights with. I typically will cast, like, as my team's getting ready to engage, I'll cast this to give them a little bit of extra health buff and get them primed to fight. And then I also will use it in combination with Clay's Salvation to make sure that I can, you know, top off the group without them losing too much health. It just gives them a little bit extra bubble, followed by the group heal, and then like whoever's close to needing more healing, then I'll use a single target as well. So then, yeah, like that's basically, I don't know. These two are like the least performing spells in arena, but it gets more effective in small scale, like in open world dungeons and stuff, because you have a 6-man group and you just get more value, if that makes sense, out of it. But I would at this point in time, I wouldn't probably switch either of those spells out. And if like I said, if you are experimenting in arenas, I would probably switch Blessed Barrier out with Clay's Salvation, honestly, just so you get more single target healing. Okay, 4 passives here. We'll start out with Mana Amp. Really good increase to max mana and max health. Overall, just beneficial passive to run with staff. Frost Master. This is something I haven't leveled up yet. I've really only used it in small scale fights. But when you do have this capped out, the movement speed the movement speed reduction from your ice spells is significantly improved. It also increased the duration of the movement speed decrease as well. It's just really powerful to slow enemies, especially melee enemies, in small scale, allowing your group to target them or to track them down if they're trying to run away, or if you're trying to get away, to kind of severely slow the melee and the tank players that are trying to kill you. Flame Condensation, it just increases burn damage, a little bit of increase to damage over time. This probably would be the first passive I'd switch. The problem is there isn't really anything to switch to at this point, just because, you know, a lot of these things are not that effective. If you were going to switch it, I'd probably switch it with Mana Ball Eruption, which again is just a little bit of extra damage, but again, the flame condensation is great because it does increase your heavy attack chance per burn stack, which is really nice. So I honestly, the more I think about it, the more I probably just keep flame condensation. Asceticism, you're only using it really for the mana regen. You're not standing still a lot in PvP, unless you want to die, of course. But when you do like reset on fights and stuff, you do use your inner piece. It does give you a nice little buff. So you know, atop from the mana regen, which this in PvP this build does require quite a bit of mana management effort, so this kind of eases that just slightly there. Okay, so Saint's Oath, just increased healing. A lot of these abilities down here are just basically to increase your healing and mana regen. Again, the mana is a little bit of a problem in PvP just because you're having to have your skills available and be used so frequently that you don't have time for the combination that we use with the other builds, the other PvE builds, to kind of stand here in inner peace and then cast Fountain of Life. You can get that off sometimes, but I would say generally you're wanting to like have your 6v6 or your 3v3 and then reset with inner peace. And then this kind of gives you that buff that, like, you know, to re-engage in the next fight, you get a little bit of heavy attack chance and everything like that as well. Yeah, so those are the passives of the build. Okay, so we went through weapon skills. Let's go through skill specializations. Here's what the skill specializations look like in staff. Focus fire bombs. Again, this one basically allows you to charge it to deal massive amounts of damage, and this allows you to move while you're doing it. These are the only like really necessary two things to put together this quick burst combination as far as specializations go here. Inferno Wave, this just decreases the cooldown speed of Inferno Wave and then increases the chance of you proccing, or basically allows you to proc a second cast of Inferno Wave, which again equals more burn stacks. Inner Peace, like we said before, just getting the CC immunity while we're doing it, just in case something really bad happens or they're able to stealth up and get on you. Ice Spear and Bombardment, we're taking every spec, just all of them are really, really good. It's just, again, an all-around all-star in the build. The only bad thing about this is the long cooldown. If this had a shorter cooldown, man, this build would be nuts. Just the amount of CC you have available to you with Ice Spear and then Ice Tomb. Here's our Victorious Energy, our high focus morph. This increases, when you have it maxed out, it increases your magic, melee, and range hit chance by 500, and your melee, range, and magic evasion by 500. So just like super powerful. The duration of it is pretty high base wise. It usually lasts for about 12 seconds, I think, and you can increase that with your buff duration. So just a really powerful ability. And then this is kind of, you know, just a nice added benefit of increasing your max damage by 45. Very, very good. This also increases the amount of healing you can do as well. So just a really, really powerful buff that you can obtain by running staff. And then Judgment Lightning. Basically this, so when you use Ice Spear bombardment to open up the fight, and they're dumb enough to kind of hang out around each other, this allows you to proc the massive amount of damage you're going to do with Judgment Lightning to surrounding targets. You could also switch this out for radius increase. I mean, I actually can't. They're not the same value. I digress. So just keep this. When it works, when they're willing to stand still, you get the buff of all the burns, increased damage on Judgment across a bunch of targets because they're usually frosted with Ice Spear and Broadman. So that's why we took that. As far as wand specs go, we're using everything on Swift Healing. Increased mana is good for everybody. The range, you can use it 3 times in a row, and then every time you heal someone, you get 50% of the recovery on yourself. So this also applies when you're healing yourself. So just, they're like giga heals, man. It's crazy. Like I've healed myself through so much burst damage, and like you just go back up to full. It's so freaking good. Swift heal with all these specs on it. It's just it's a juggernaut as far as support goes. Clay Salvation, we proc this to apply the removal of weaken, like a cleanse, and then we increase the radius just for effectiveness of the ability, making sure we're getting the most valuable possible in most situations. Same here. This expands the targets. Now we can cast this on all of our friends, and then this increases the range to make sure we're like, even in the heat of battle, we're able to get this on most of our allies. And then Fountain of Life. The reason we don't take duration here, it's expensive. Also, you're not going to stand around for that long in PvP. So you basically get most of the value out of it, even without the duration, because most time people aren't going to stand in it for the full duration. So that is the last 2 specs we take there. For gear wise, I know a lot of you guys want to know that. We have this is the current PvP gear setup that I have. I switched these out a lot, honestly. We're in a really good spot right now with melee evasion. I think we're pretty much pushing 2300 melee evasion, and then we have with buffs up around 1500 ranged evasion. Those are the 2 like big most important defensive qualities of the build. We're also able to capture some increased damage reduction with Ebon Roar Greaves and our 40 strength. And I really like where the attributes land up with this gear set, because we are able to get the 60 perception. That with our buff allows us to hit most of our CC and our damage abilities. And then obviously you get the DR from strength as well as the max health. And then we're able to get the crit hit chance, which increases our healing crit hit as well with the dex. So I really like this setup. And we do make a little bit of sacrifices to melee evasion, but I generally think, like, where we're at right now, stats and everything included, where we lack basically the only thing we really could do is switch our ring out for a green ring, but then we miss out on a lot of these attribute thresholds which again I think are very powerful. So you're looking like the difference of 100 melee evasion, and then you're like exchanging that for the ability to get the increased crit hit, the damage reduction, and then the increased hit chance here. Like I feel like it's much better to just take the ring and just lose out, because no one really wants to run green rings anyways, like, you know. So this is like where I landed. You could switch if you want more melee evasion. You can switch this ring out and then miss out on the strength and the dex. You'll probably just miss out on the dex one because you'll pour your stats into the 40 strength. You'll miss out on the crit hit, and and again, like dexterity is also evasion, so you miss out on the little evasion there. So to me personally, I like this setup a little bit better. You can always switch to there's a green evasion ring. I'll go find it, just so you guys don't say, what was your ring called? None of you sound like that. I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry. Ring of perception is the ring. You can switch that out if you want to. But I like this setup here right now. Weapons, I love this wand. I know that most people will say excavator's better, but dude, the utility of Licarius's ambush is just like every arena fight or every small scale fight. This saves my life at least once. You go below your health threshold and you go invisible. I mean, it depending on where a greatsword locking you down, where they proc their stun on, like, I mean, this, you could go invisible right before they're able to finish you off. It's just so powerful. And when you think about like the utility of being able to heal people at low life, like that is also like rarely going to happen in most battles anyways. You're rarely going to get the value of that on top of like the wisdom and perception and the crit hit chance. I just think this one's is really, really good. I took buff duration just again for, you know, this buff is so powerful. Your victorious energy is so powerful. I try to do anything in my power to extend that buff, and you know, I do sacrifice some heavy hit chance, but again, like I mean, it's not that important to heavy hit with this build. We're not really structured around it, so the buff duration, we'll take it where we can get it. Here, the staff of Umbermancer, I love this. Like, this is to me the best staff as well. You get perception, strength, which are your two most important PvP stats, along with cooldown speed reduction. You have the opportunity to dip on heavy attack chance here and get max health. I wouldn't really judge you if you did that. Honestly, I probably should. But I don't know. Like, I took the heavy attack chance here. It really kind of goes against this reasoning between buff duration, but honestly, you could take max health here and further increase your max health. It wouldn't be a bad play at all. So as far as the helmet goes, this is the wrong helmet, which makes sense why my attributes are scuffed here. 1 second. Holy heck, boys. What a poop show. There we go. Now we have the right helmet, which is why I was like, dude, my melee evasion's a little low. Well, turns out I had the wrong helmet on. Here we go. Let me save that so that's fixed for you guys. Yeah, so this is the Visor of Resistance, melee evasion, take max health, melee evasion range. Really, really good. Only cape with melee evasion turns out to also be blue. We take skill damage, resistance, and debuff duration here with max health. Great cape. You know, you could, if you're like, I want to wear all purples, then you can run this. It doesn't really dip your melee evasion that much. It gives you a little bit of extra range evasion here, and then obviously you get your purple benefits, your one more trait increase. So overall, some really good value. But I mean, here's the thing: melee evasion is the most important evasion. So I run this cape for a little bit of extra evasion there. Chest piece is heroic, armor piece of resistance. We run max health, melee evasion, range evasion here. It also comes with max health and melee evasion on the chest. Amazing chest piece for an evasion build. The gloves, we chose the Gauntlet of Field Generals, basically for the double attack speed and the perception. Also, it is a melee ranged evasion piece. So that's the main theme of the build, is you want all pieces that can be traded in melee and ranged evasion. We don't do any magic evasion. We ignore magic entirely with this build, which again, it really isn't that bad, especially in all forms of PvP, just because a lot of the times when you think about like what is like the main frustrating or like unavoidable ways you die, from my experience, it typically is like a greatsword tank locking me down and murdering me, or a crossbow dagger just getting in, like sleeping, getting in the group and just murdering me. So we chose to like try to avoid that stuff with melee range evasion. So that's why we went there. The pants, we get damage reduction, melee evasion, and dex. Really, really good pants. Ebon Roar Greaves, they're really easy to get to as well. They're dungeon drops, so melee range and debuff duration is what we went with there. We have the Ebon Roar Sabatons. Here I went melee evasion, range evasion, and movement speed. These come with perception, or again, best stat in PvP for us, making sure we land our CCs. Melee evasion, I mean, you can't go wrong with these boots. They're fantastic. The Collar of Decimation, we have strength and melee evasion. Again, really good PvP perk, or PvP attribute. And then obviously our main defense, melee evasion. This comes with max health, skill damage boost, and buff duration. The Ancient Soradamas Bracer, this is really easy to farm. Also, it gives you dex and ranged evasion. It's really hard to find evasion on a bracer, so we definitely took it here. You get max mana, skill damage resistance, and buff duration or debuff duration decrease. For some reason this isn't capped out. There we go. None of these are. What the heck, boy? We stunting on. Okay, here we go. So the rings, I love these dimensional combinations of the Amber and Sapphire. Across the board, they provide with you with a ton of attributes, man. 8 attributes on a piece of gear is pretty disgusting. And not only that, but you get some movement speed and some attack range, which are very good utility, like substats. Both of these rings provide max health, skill damage boost, and buff duration. Just really, really solid rings here. Again, you could switch out one of these. I would probably switch out the amber one for the green ring if you wanted to. But if you wanted a little bit more evasion, but again, it turns out we're pushing close to 2,500 melee evasion and 1,500 range evasion. So you don't really need it. You're going to dodge at least 50% of the attacks for melee, which is pretty powerful, especially if that attack you dodge is like a CC. Then you're like, you're banking, you know what I mean? You're banking the juice, boys. Final thing is the belt. We use this belt simply for the melee evasion. There are other good belts in the game, but again, because we kind of sacrificed the green ring for a purple ring, we got to take these extra like blue slots to get our melee evasion where we want it, which is close to like 2,500. Guys, yeah, I mean, like, this is the build. I think the build's super strong, especially in small scale. I will put out a large scale, like a more focused large scale support build at some point as well, but this is, for the most part, this is the PvP I'm enjoying right now in the game, so I wanted to get this out first. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I covered everything. I mean, you guys are gonna say Masteries probably, and for that, like, I mean, like, let me just show. I don't want that to be said. Okay, so let me just look this up here. This is my PvP wand staff build. This is more large scale focused, and I'm not finished with this, so please don't, like, you know, use the things I said in the video, boys. Here is the staff, or the wand mastery right here. Pretty straightforward. Okay, and then here is the staff mastery. There, now no one can say anything. Here it is, boys. Look at me go. All right, there it is, gentlemen. The gear is right here in this build, and I've not changed the PvP stuff, so don't ignore that. Okay, ignore that, please. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I'll put some footage at the end. hopefully this is helpful. If not, leave a comment telling why it wasn't helpful. And today you can't say that my face is in the way. Haha. Joke's on you. Thanks for watching. Peace.